Welcome to my channel. My name is Karolina Attspodina, and today I'm going to be interviewing a very interesting entrepreneur whose name is Lubomila Jordanova. And she has basically created a company which is called PlanA. This is a company that is going to change how we all view climate change, and she's actually going to earn even money with it.
Far too long we've ignored nature's capacity to transform our lives in seconds. Until now, when we can. Heat waves, floods, wildfires, and scores of humans, animals, and trees gone. Extreme weather events across the globe have been shouting at us that climate change is real and we need to act.
So today I want to find out how she has made it. She has also won numerous awards, and she has made it into the Forbes 30 Under 30 2020 class. So she's sitting actually here in the co-working space, which is called Data House. We're in Berlin, so let's go. I want to introduce you to the awesome lady that I absolutely love, Lubomila. So you created PlanA.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you want to tell us a bit about what this is? I kind of made a short introduction to everyone that it's a company that is going to basically, talk about climate change and how we're going to view it. But what is it exactly?
Thank you so much for having me. PlanA is actually the place where you can learn about climate change and fight it as a company. What we have built is two products. One is an algorithm that predicts where and how climate change will hit the hardest. We use over 300,000 data points to essentially map out what are the biggest priorities on a country level when it comes to climate change and what kind of activities on a company and industry level are affecting these changes severely quite often. The second product that is really important and is something we officially released a few months ago is a software that allows companies to calculate, monitor, and reduce their carbon footprint, while it automatically builds for them sustainability action plans. So essentially a company can have this go-to house of sustainability for all the activities that they have that is sitting on our platform.
So basically you're teaching companies how to be more sustainable.
Absolutely, yeah. PlanA is, since day one, a data company. We understand really well the climate data science, so our expertise lie into making sense of this data and then presenting it in such manner that a company is kind of able to apply it to their existing way of operating so that it speaks their language, but it's also obviously addressing the issues related to climate change.
Okay, so tell me, I'm sure there will be questions like, you created this company, is it non-for-profit or are you actually making profits with it?
We are for profit, so for a company to be able to access the software, they pay a subscription fee that is charged on a monthly basis. So the business model is software as a service.
Awesome. And tell me, because this hasn't been what you were doing all your life, right?
No.
When beforehand you were working somewhere else, what did you do?
My journey was not at all connected to climate change. For the longer time of my educational career, I've never studied sustainability or environmental issues or the science behind it. I am a finance and business person by education, and this is what I ended up doing in my professional life afterwards. I worked in VC, in investment banking, and then in fintech in Asia and in Europe. But what triggered me to change my focus was 6 months after I kind of faced climate change in reality. I went on a trip to India and Morocco where I saw the unfortunate impacts that were caused by human behavior in terms of pollution that was actually leading to climatic changes.
Oh, the bottles that you see, right?
Yeah, and beyond, like just people being so disrespectful to nature. And I kind of started digging into understanding the issues because I was definitely not familiar with the topic and was quite fascinated to find out that there was a massive discrepancy between the amount of money that were given to environmental causes and the locations. and actually what was needed. So first of all, there was like a massive gap in terms of the amount of money needed, but then also the places which were facing the biggest issues were not getting support. So
how did you even come up with the idea, right, that you're going to create this data company, not having to have done it before, right? I mean, this is your first company that you're creating, right? And but obviously you have a bit of experience with, let's say, with finance, so you kind of know how it goes. You potentially know how to approach venture capital, right, or how to talk to them. What did you think it's going to become? Is it something that you dreamed of, what it is right now, or did you completely imagine something else?
When I started PlanA, there was a big altruistic mission, and there still is, but I had no clue how this is going to apply to reality. My only concern was that I need to apply the skill sets that I had to the cause climate change fighting. The things that I knew were, and still are, finance, approaching venture capital, because I've been in a startup that was doing its financing round when I was there, and then also kind of strategy, again, because I was exposed to these kinds of setups in a few of the companies that I worked in. So what I did was basically apply this as the first experiment. I built something that was like an incredibly basic version of the algorithm, nothing to do with what it is today, because I don't have climate data science.
Yourself or with who?
Yeah. So basically it was just like something similar to like a financial model, something that I know how it works. Where basically I built a model that was looking into how much money were needed to be able to address the issues if they were increasing at the same speed as the historical data was showing. And it looked so bad. It was just so dramatic. So this kind of was the first trigger. Then I did 200 interviews to like ask people what did they think about climate change, what was their concern, did they care at all?
Feedback, right?
And it was really interesting to see that people didn't understand it at all. They were shocked by the science. They didn't want to touch it because it was only like these like big high-level explanations that had nothing to do with their own reality. So the correlations between the issues were not explained. And finally, people are not seeing, predominantly in the Western world, the actual effects of climate change. So Berlin, now it's springtime, but like 2 years ago, in winter was a proper winter. So people are not clear on what's the whole fuss about. And then I quit my job and decided to build PlanA, basically.
Your minute starts now.
Far too long we've ignored nature's capacity to transform our lives in seconds. Until now, when we can. Heat waves, floods, wildfires, and scores of humans, animals, and trees gone. Extreme weather events across the globe have been shouting at us that climate change is real and we need to act. Which is why we built PlanA, the first crowdfunding platform that uses data to predict where and how climate change will hit the hardest. Using these insights, we channel capital to environmental organizations and innovators that address these issues effectively. We're building the first platform that allows individuals like you, businesses like you, NGOs, governments to act together, driven by the facts and the data. My 1 minute is over now. The planet will be over soon if we don't act now. Thank you.
Nice!
So after I built this model and clearly the data was showing that there was big issues that we needed to be focusing our time and money and effort on, I decided to interview around 200 people just to understand what was the dynamic and opinion about climate change. So were people concerned? What were their understanding of the science? What were they doing in their day-to-day? And the result was equally as shocking because people were quite disengaged with the science because it was way too high level for their own existence. And then on the other hand, when it came to taking actual actions, they felt like they were guilt-tripped into being unsustainable all the time. But the truth was that they had taken certain steps, but they never knew on a qualitative level, what did this mean? Was it actually something significant? Was it impactful? And this kind of triggered me to think that I needed to quit my job. And essentially, I quit my job and decided
By the way, about quitting your job. This is something that when I quit my job to start my company, I didn't exactly think about it. And I quit my job when Well, I mean, I was having quite a nice salary, but I quit my job without any savings, and I didn't understand that I'm not gonna get paid like right away.
Yeah.
What did you do? I mean, did you understand that you have to have some savings to actually start something, or how did you? Because I think this is like the question that people usually have. How do I, start something new and quit my job? Like, should I start it while I'm working for someone?
Yeah. I'm the kind of person that doesn't do things in a half-hearted way, so it's you're either in or out. So for me, there was no question mark whether I should be focusing on essentially dedicating my time full-time to this issue. I had some savings because I had worked in investment banking, but the truth was that, and also venture capital. So my London, Bangkok times helped, but not for a long time. So I ended up essentially kind of minimizing the costs in my life a lot. I ended up essentially paying only for rent and food. I barely traveled for like 6 months and didn't see a lot of friends and stuff. Like I was living quite of a monk life, but it kind of set me up for focusing on what I was there to do, and it gave me a good perspective on why I was doing it, and also it helped me learn a lot of things about myself, because this was the first time in a long time that I had spent 6 months more or less by myself, and sometimes my flatmate, but that was
so just kind of building yourself and creating stuff that you believe in.
I was doing like interviews with people, like survey, reading a lot of books on how to build a company, reading a lot of books on climate change.
Which ones? Tell us like a couple of books that you read that, let's say, have changed the way you think right now.
So one that is a massive pillar is The Disciplined Entrepreneur. This is an MIT course that became so popular that they had to turn it into a book because people loved it. Essentially, it includes 27 steps that you need to go through to identify what is your market, what is your product, who's your target customer. But essentially, it kind of walks you through a really clear process within 150 pages on where you're headed to.
So kind of like exercises to really think about what is it that you're doing, kind of your why are you doing this, who are you doing this for, right? So to think about your customers.
Exactly. So a few others that maybe are not necessarily related to entrepreneurship but have helped a lot. Another one is called actually it is related, so it's the Mom's Test. This is kind of probably the Bible of testing whether your idea sucks or it doesn't. So essentially, again, it's a really short book that it doesn't focus on being quite poetic. It's more practical and down to earth, explaining how you test an idea and essentially how you should never go and ask someone, hey, what do you think about my app? And you show them the app and then they tell you that it's awesome because they love you.
Because it's like, it's probably your mom and she's like, sweetie, it's great.
That's why the name of the book is like that. But you need to like twist it around. You go and work with the habits of people. So you need to tell them, tell me, you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing you do? And people speak in habits and then it kind of, explains a lot. Another one is the Tools of Titans.
I have that one.
It's amazing. This guy is like phenomenal. Tim Ferriss is maybe many people listen to his podcast, but honestly for me it has been such a pillar in terms of like gaining wisdom.
It's quite a big book.
But it's supposed to be like yellow pages, you know? Exactly. It's supposed to take you through case studies but it's really powerful. And it kind of, these three have been quite practical and I've been going back to them still up until today. And another thing that has helped a lot was actually diving a bit deeper into climate change, because when you don't have the domain knowledge and you only have the passion, you need to be quite clear since the beginning that there's certain gaps in your understanding that might be questioned at a later point. And maybe not on day one because you're just sharing excitement, but when it comes to having to explain why you're building something, you need to know who is your target customer, but also if it's that meta level of a problem, like climate change, you need to understand the science behind it. So I spend a lot of time reading books about
So
that.
did you tell the idea to your family right before, let's say, you quit your job and you started working on it? Because, for example, like I watched an interview with Sarah Blakely, who created Spanx, and she didn't tell the idea for like a year, right? So she was working on the idea, and her family just knew that she's working on some kind of idea, but nobody knew what it was. Did you tell it to them right away, or did you wait?
Yeah, I did, and it's of course because I'm really close to my family, but also because there was like 3 huge changes that happened in my life within the same amount of time. I decided to leave London. I decided to break up with my boyfriend, and I decided to start a company. So it was kind of in the same 3 months in my life. There was like a lot of turbulence.
So you were really motivated.
I don't know if like I was giving up all the other things that I had in my life for the sake of focusing only on PlanA, but there was just like a deep need in me to change a lot of things about me, maybe because of this newly gathered like value system. And London was definitely not aligned with fighting climate change. People would like, so what's the business model? I was like, but the animals, they're not. So that took some time. But yeah, so my family has been there since day one, and they've been phenomenal. Like honestly, without their support, they're both kind of corporate / entrepreneur turned into entrepreneur people. So they understand a lot the mindset and the freedom that you gain, and also the challenges that come alongside. So they have been supporting me a lot, and I think I wouldn't have been able to go so far so quickly without them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like one of the things that is you literally got like all of the awards I think last year that you could have, like every single competition that you were in, like Lubomila was the first one to get like an award. And regarding Forbes 30 under 30, you got in for 2020 class.
Yes, I did, yeah.
How did that come around? Did you expect it, or was it?
No, I didn't expect it. Like I got contacted by Forbes, and they told me that they've been gathering over the last 6 months nominations, and apparently my name popped up like a lot of times because people were suggesting me, and then it kind of, you know, you just get into this like system where things happen, and it's been amazing because I've met incredible people because of that, and I was so like shocked and like positively surprised, not that I expected less, but like by the professionalism of the team and how kind of incredible the selection was. I was really honored.
Okay, and so Forbes, did you meet also entrepreneurs that are very much on their kind of like starting out journey, or are they already kind of way far off? How did you feel about the class?
Yeah, I think it's quite of a big mix. There's definitely some like people who have been like killing it, and they're like 23 and they're already like quit university, like they're trying to follow this trajectory and they're doing it really well. But there's a lot of people who, everyone has proven results. Like everyone has something that validates that they not only have been fighting for their cause and mission and whatever the topic is related to their business, but they also have kind of been validated by the market. So it's not just, you know, I truly believe in this, someone else believes in it as well, that is from the external world.
Yeah. And I mean, so you have already raised some money for your company, right? And can you tell a bit more about, well, I mean, your investors are impact investors, right? Because essentially your company is an impact company. Even though you're for profit, you are an impact company. Was it hard to explain people what you're doing and to raise money for it?
So a few things to this question. First of all, I have been trying for the last 1 year to explain to people that I really don't like this definition that divides impact, because a stable business is a stable business. And if you're capable of implementing KPIs that validate that the business is showing results in the same way that a blockchain startup is doing, or because PlanA is also an AI startup, you know, and alongside of being with the mission to fight climate change.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. The second aspect is that because of this kind of belief, I've been going and talking to a lot of traditional VCs, and it's really nice to see that they're opening their minds to the topic of sustainability.
That's good.
We're now for the last 2 months fundraising, and we're looking into closing next month 2 million euros. And it's been an interesting journey because you kind of see how dynamically the market is changing. People feel comfortable talking about climate change more than before, but actually there's still very little willingness to commit to
Not there yet.
no, there's still a lot of discussion, and I'm looking forward to this year because I think with, for example, the announcement that came out yesterday about BlackRock basically putting at the prime of their strategy sustainability, with the fact that some of the major brands like fashion brands like Prada and others like committing to not only offsetting but changing their strategy and being accountable for that so that they become more sustainable. Other companies like stopping to use like animal skin and so on. There's so many dynamics in the market that are influencing more prominent position of sustainability in the discussion. So I think this year is going to be a lot easier for companies like PlanA to raise from even the traditional VCs. But yeah, you're right.
But most of the money, let's say, that came to your company until now, where are these venture capitalists or angel investors located? Are they German-based? Are they, you know, other countries in Europe, US? Like, where do they come from?
So the money that we have had so far have come from an investor in London. It's an angel investor. That's our only investment so far that we've gotten. And we have won a few competitions that have given us some money.
I know about those.
That helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and but when it comes to like where are the investors that we're speaking to at the moment located, they are predominantly in Germany and in the UK. UK for the obvious reasons that there's a lot of money there and a lot more than any other European Union market. European Union, still.
Well, for how long? Yeah.
And German because we're here and this is where we have visibility and this is where we have a lot of clients and this is where it makes sense for these investors to put their money in. If I have to speak about the market itself, there's a lot happening in the US. There's a lot happening in the Netherlands. There's also a lot happening in the Scandinavian countries, just not at the scale of Germany and the UK. Yeah.
And so you think that your next investors are going to be German? Because, I mean, usually for some startups being here, it's quite tough to raise here, you know, so a lot of them are actually going outside. I would love to see more German investors investing into risky ideas, into incredible companies that are crazy enough to change the world.
Yeah.
So I would really love to see it here, but I feel like still a lot of companies are going outside to raise the money. Are you confident you will raise from here, from Germany?
No, because we're at the final stages with like 6 VCs, and then all of them are either based in the UK, another 2 are based in Germany, and then there's one based in Portugal that is an impact VC, and then another one is based in the Scandinavian countries. So I cannot confirm that we're going to be raising from here, but most likely, yes. Most likely it would be from because I like the German investors. They're really pragmatic and I think the discussions have been really honest, and this has made us understand a lot of things about ourselves as well, because to be honest, I've been speaking to investors like a lot before we started fundraising, and the feedback that they give, it's really useful, and it's different feedback that you get here in comparison to London, for example. In London, it's a bit more, okay, let's chat in a few months. In here, actually, I've gotten someone to sit with me for half an hour and explain to me stuff and be like, yeah, I would be interested in seeing like progress on this and this topic, and if you want to actually raise from us, we're looking into these and these kind of topics. And yeah, I find this a more digestible approach.
Another question. Are you looking also when you're choosing your investor, because I'm pretty sure you're choosing your investor and not the other way around, are you looking for what I call it kind of smart money, because you want to make sure that your investor also uplifts you at a certain stage, right? That they actually help you with certain things that you might not have.
Yeah.
Or what are you looking at when you're choosing your investor?
I have been so positively influenced by the investors that we've spoken to over the last few months, and it is exactly because of the fact that we have been purposefully choosing investors that we like not only the investment thesis of, but the whole dynamic of the brand that they've built. Like they've built an ecosystem around them that supports startups and believes in startups and actually believes in the power of entrepreneurship in a way that it's not only a money-making kind of vehicle, but it's also building teams, building products, and kind of expanding in a market to make a process optimized. And these are the VCs that we speak to. I like this, not necessarily always super operational, but certainly kind of a strategic approach where they can be of help and they can dedicate some time for us to expand our network, for us to expand our client base. And this is for me smart money, and this is the ones that we're looking at, because we already got some offers only for money, but it required us to move to the US. I love the European market for this time. I think we need to first establish ourselves here before we move somewhere else. So, you know, these choices matter a lot.
So US has come forward basically pretty much.
They are a lot more risk-seeking when it comes to investments, and they understand the importance of the topic also from a strategic perspective. I mean, you know what's happening now with clean meat and the whole movement.
It's amazing.
The amounts of money that have been invested in these companies is just phenomenal. And there's a lot of interest, but it kind of shows that Europe, I'm sure, is going to pick up quickly.
Yeah, I really hope so, to be honest, because I really want to see this risk-taking here. And I'm confident we will get there. It's usually slower than we want it to be, but it's okay. As I say, that US investors are very, opportunistic and very positive. And then Europeans are very, how do you call it? Probably realistic. Realistic, and sometimes maybe scared to go for things that they have never invested into before. So it's kind of new ideas.
It's a friend of mine has a green tech startup and as well, and he was telling me how they went through the process of fundraising, and essentially they were getting all the no's on the planet possible, and then one investor committed, and essentially this led to everyone that had said no to send them kind of the confirmation that they're interested in investing, and actually term sheets started flying towards them.
It basically takes this cornerstone investor, right, to basically I'm gonna back up this startup. And then the whole network starts to
absolutely
come.
So
and that's the hardest thing. So guys, that's the hardest thing to do, is to get your first corner investor, and then the rest is literally just gonna come flying in. That's how we see it as well.
2.5 years ago, I set myself on a journey to understand if it's possible to have a reality where businesses exist on a planet that is healthy and are successful at the same time. Businesses were saying that they don't necessarily understand what's their responsibility when it comes to climate change fighting. Individuals thought that they have to buy responsibly, but more change their ways of behaving, change their habits. NGOs were thinking that they have to implement projects on the ground, and governments were saying that they're going to change the policies, but they still think that they need the time to discuss it. And it turned out that it was quite clear the different stakeholders had a different perspective, and it was never about collaboration.
Did you think that you're going to be the one who's actually going to make this possible? Because to be honest, I think quite a lot of people have tried creating something around climate change. It didn't quite work out for some, I think because of the maybe approaches or how it was presented. But I think the way you do it is so well thought out, but it's also just your personality. like literally the first time I met Lubomila, we met during Tech Open Air, and she was giving a speech on stage. And by the time you were finished, you were crying. And that touched me so much. I mean, you are so involved, and this is your true passion.
Yeah, I love the planet and nature. I think it's we've been given so much beauty and so much of resources for free, and we kind of have not paid any respect.
Yeah.
Like wildlife is going away. The Australia wildfires are validation that the normal disasters that in any case we have are going to be a lot more severe. And what excites me is that I think this is an opportunity to connect people and to start working together. At the moment we have a society where the different stakeholders work in isolation from one another. Government, startups, corporates, and then you have like some other public service organizations, NGOs, and kind of everyone is doing their own marathon running, fighting climate change or like touching these topics. But the truth is that the collaboration level is so low, and it doesn't allow for all the knowledge that is gathered on all these like stakeholder sites to be put together. And my approach is positivity, collaboration, and also data driven. So basically being focused on the science, which I think we've ignored for a long time, and scientists are one of the key stakeholders that we need to get back into the discussion, because a lot of the ideas are not even given the opportunity to be implemented, whereas we create startups one after another. So I think, why not make them scientific ones?
Totally. Okay, some of your kind of takeaways for anyone who is planning to start a company, and especially a company within, let's say, an impact field, which I would love to see more of, because I think this is yours is a great cause, but I'm sure there will be plenty more will be coming out of the incubators, accelerators, and so on. What are your, 3 top things that people should kind of like look out for?
So one thing is about structure. What I've been seeing a lot and what I've been really stringent when it comes to PlanA since day one is about like setting up certain ways of behaving within the company, and then also when you behave towards like clients and so on, but like being incredibly organized and structured, because I think startups lose a lot of time in the beginning when there's like 3 people doing like 100 things to actually navigate this whole system that doesn't exist, that is like organically built, that just could save some time. So like first thing is structure. The second thing is collaborations instead of competition. I think we've been taught through all these like business models that we've seen historically that we need to be really predatory when it comes to like approaching a new market or entering like a new topic with a new product. The truth is that you can always find ways to work with your competitors that you think are competitors in your mind, because you're never going to be the same. Maybe your customer services is a bit more kind of quirky and a bit more personal, which is what the other company doesn't have. And maybe you kind of can spin off this and give this to them as a service. Like maybe that's not like the most exciting example, but I think we need to focus on collaborating also amongst these different stakeholders, what I was saying earlier. And then the final thing is like this fundraising fight that always seems to be like the immediate topic within the 6 months after you've built a company. I don't think this is necessary. It's a waste of resources. Like PlanA survived for so long without many resources. I had a minimalistic life by myself, but then when people started joining the team, I still don't pay myself a salary. So it kind of... it'll come, but it kind of is after we get the 2 million, that will come.
There's going to be one of
pray to the Lord, whatever.
That's going to be like one of my next questions, because I also didn't have a salary for a long time when I started, and I didn't expect it. I didn't expect not to be paid for a long time.
But you pay the cost,
Yeah, and I kind of like got used to it after a while. So I suppose you're on the same stage.
Yeah. I'd say that I think the universe is really kind when you have a big mission and when you're passionate about what you do. with PlanA has gotten so many things for free, like, you know, it's like, and just because people are like, oh, I cannot help you with money, but can I give you office space? Can I give you this?
Awesome.
Can I give you that?
I'll take it.
You know, it's just, it just works. And I think you need to build a sustainable business model, but like focusing a bit more, not on the fundraising part, but more like how do you make money yourself as a company? Because I think there's a lot of opportunities to test an idea without having to spend a lot of money. Go on the street, ask some people, what do they think of this product? And maybe like what I did was like I summoned my friends. This was the first month after I quit my job, and I gathered 20 of my friends and I made an announcement that I'm going to be fighting climate change. And they're like, this is awesome. I have an idea, I have that. I can offer you this, I can offer you that. And like by the end of this meeting, I had a developer that was going to give me like 3 hours a week, but still like, you know,
Great.
some time to advise. A marketeer, like a person that was going to look into like social media, setting up some things, and then like just free office space and so on. So like, you never know when it's going to come from.
So always ask, I would
always
say.
Ask,
always
yeah.
ask.
And don't ask for money just for the sake of having money. Yeah.
Okay, so kind of the impact is awesome. This is one of your major things that you're doing. Apart from that, you are a for-profit company. Mm-hmm. What are your potential calculations, how much you will be making on a yearly basis?
Yeah. So the plan for this year is that we're going to make 1 million in revenue by the end of the year, and then for next year it's like quite ambitious. So we plan on 17 million. So
wow.
Quite significant, yeah. Because there's a lot of like hidden aspects about PlanA that are just not released yet, and we've been building them over a long time. Yeah. So we just want to kind of, you know, do this explosive kind of growth. And this is, of course, with all of the plans that have been put in place, at least as a plan, which is the fundraising, expanding the team, and so on, to actually come to fruition. So I guess, hopefully everything works out well. So yeah.
And hopefully then you have a salary.
Yeah, I hope so. Hope that by the time we're making 1 million, I'm gonna be able to, you know,
take some money out.
Yeah, exactly. Buy myself some. Like a nice dinner or something. No, I really do that. So yeah, it's not that monk of a life anymore.
By the way, one more question. Do you have mentors?
Well, you've been wonderful in my journey. I really appreciate your approach and all the things that I've learned from you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's for sure. My mom is a big mentor, because she's she was in corporate for 20 years on a world level position, and then she turned into an entrepreneur, and she kind of has this kind of switch mentality where she can basically switch her hat from being corporate, which is our client, and the startup, where she understands all the struggles and the challenges. So, and also she's been quite good with like, yes, she's my mom, but when we speak business, which is really cool, because I kind of know that when I go to her and I ask a question, she's gonna immediately switch, and she's like, okay, yeah, but what are the revenue projections at the moment? So what's going on? So yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I love that. So yeah, I would say this, and I get a lot of inspiration from an interesting guy that I just discovered, and I think it's a tip for anyone that listens to podcasts. Again, Tim Ferriss. His guest was Gary Kellner, who is the guy that owns the biggest real estate company in the world. They kind of have been considered as a competition to WeWork, but as WeWork kind of went on a downhill journey over the last few months, the ultimate winners are these guys, essentially. And this guy has built the company and has implemented incredibly clever tactics on how to like build a franchise, how to like essentially test new people. And one of the things that I found fascinating is about like how you test the solidity of a concept that you want to implement. And basically, it's not about a startup, it's more like day-to-day problem within your company, and it's about like essentially asking yourself a set of questions. So there's a 2.5 hour episode on Tim Ferriss that everyone needs to listen. But this guy was really like shocking to me in terms of the wisdom that he had, and the way the concepts about life that he explained, and like how work is like a bouncing ball, and then you can always like drop it on the ground and it's always going to come back. Like you decide to leave it, there's always going to be more. But then there's another 4 pillars of your life. So you have integrity, spirituality, personal relationships, and honesty or something like that, and health. And basically all of these balls are made out of glass. So the moment when you drop them, they break. And like it's just phenomenal. Like I wouldn't say that this guy is a mentor because I don't know this guy, but it was just like really I had to listen it like a few times and made some notes and stuff. So it was really quite of a great experience to be able to gain from the wisdom of a guy that has been building an incredible company.
Awesome, thank you so much. Guys, I'm gonna leave the books that Lubomila is reading or has read down below. I will also give you a link to the podcast if you will share it with me.
Of course, yeah.
I hope you really loved this episode. Please subscribe down below and make sure to stay on and see what else is coming. Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.